books of the Old Testament are not in the Bible because they were on someone's bestsellers list.
We don't have documentary evidence of why the Old Testament canon was gathered together. What we do have is very consistent examples of usage of certain books. Certain books were used more often, copied more often, used for teaching by the rabbis, cited in the Mishnah and various Jewish writings, translated into Greek. So writings were always central to the Jewish faith, such as the Pentateuch, the 5 books of the Pentateuch, the major prophets, the minor prophets, the Psalter, are consistently used. And what's striking is other books are not used. So we don't have references to other writings that we no longer have mentioned in the Mishnah or in other inscriptions, evidence, things like this. It's a very consistent usage of the same books.
There have been accusations that the Bible cannot be trusted because there are references to events, cities, nations, and individuals that are not found anywhere else except in the Bible. The conclusion has been that the absence of outside corroboration must mean the Bible is in error. If that is the case, it doesn't matter if the scribes made perfect copies or not. But what if the evidence is yet to be discovered? That is what archaeology is all about, discovering evidence of what happened in the past.
Archaeology reveals the material culture of the ancient past, which enables us then to reconstruct the events of history and compare them with the biblical text to see how accurate it might be. We have excavated, in the case of Israel, probably less than 1% of all of the tells or archaeological mounds that are available. And yet that 1% is quite interesting because it has time and time again proven that the Bible is a trustworthy and reliable document. It helps us confirm the facts of history. It helps us complement the witness of the Bible in regards to history. It helps us clarify the world of the Bible in which these events took place. And so archaeology is, in a sense, a handmaiden to history to help us understand the trustworthiness of the text.
In the Bible, King David, an ancestor of Jesus Christ, is mentioned over 1,000 times. Outside of biblical or Jewish writings, there was no historical evidence that David ever existed. That was the case until a significant archaeological find at Tel Dan, Israel.
In 1993, Avraham Biran, an Israeli archaeologist, discovered at Tel Dan, a site in today's Golan Heights, a monumental dedicatory inscription which was written on basalt stone. And the 2 pieces that were fragmentary that were found had an inscription written by the Arameans, one of the enemies of Israel. These people came from Damascus, and King Ahaziel was the leader of these people. It describes a war between Israel and this Aramean group, in which the Arameans apparently were victorious. And as they refer to the conquered enemy, they refer to the king of Israel of the house of David. Now, remarkably, this is the first instance in an archaeological inscription in which the name David appears. And because it's written by an enemy of Israel, not by an Israeli themselves, therefore we can't accuse an Israeli of propagandizing this name or this myth of history. It actually was an historical person. Because also it was written 150 years after the event, and it mentions the house of David, that is the lineage of David. If there was a house of David, there had to be a David to have a house. And so we have clearly an historical text referring to King David.
Archaeology actually is a very young discipline. It's only 125 years old, and yet spectacular discoveries are being made. For example, who was the judge on Good Friday who condemned Jesus? Pontius Pilate. Well, some of the critics were doubting that he ever lived until, in 1962, an Italian archaeological expedition found a 2-by-3-foot stone with a 2-inch Latin inscription on it. To the people of Caesarea, Pontius Pilate, the prefect of Judea, has presented the Tiberium, a building in honor of the Emperor Tiberius. So this is the hard evidence from the ancient world, the smoking gun, if you please, from the ancient world, that yes, there was a Pontius Pilate. And then who's on the other side of the bar on Good Friday? The chief prosecutor, who was the chief priest among the Jews. His name was Joseph Caiaphas. Well, in 1990, in November, they announced the discovery of the Caiaphas ossuary. That's a stone chest in which to bury bones. They're running out of space, and so therefore they wanted a more compact way of dealing with the dead. And his name is inscribed on the other side of a beautifully ornamented limestone bone box. Yosef bar Caiapha, Joseph Caiaphas. And so there we have absolutely both the judge and the chief prosecutor on Good Friday showing up in stone.
So what do we have? Archaeological discoveries continually affirm the historical accuracy of the Bible. In fact, it's said that archaeology is the best friend Christianity ever had. The evidence is overwhelming. The bibliographical, internal, and external tests confirm the text of the Bible, both Old and New, is reliable. It has stood the test of time. The Bible stands alone as the best attested ancient document, bar none. Now, if this text is reliable, what about the message?